How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Starve Together MODlight, in which I try to highlight some of the mods that I found most interesting in the past couple of weeks. So to get started with, I'm going to be demonstrating a mod here called Shields. It's by EU Song and Sirius, and it adds various shields to the game. Use them to defend yourself in battle. Quite exciting. Let's get started. Okay, so here we are in game with a showcase of the various shields that have been added. There's a Knight Shield, a Thulecite Garter, a Lazy Defender, a Glowing Herald, a Golden Shield, a Spiny Shield, a Moonrock Shield, a Marble Shield, a Stone Buckler, and the basic Wooden Buckler. So now most of these shields are accessible via the Fight tab in your crafting menu. As you can see right down here at the bottom, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total of them. Most of these are just plain old shields. There is nothing too special about them with the exception of the Spiny Shield, which does a little bit of damage to enemies that attack you when you have it equipped. In addition to that, there is one magic shield called the Night Shield, probably my favorite so far. And then down here in the Ancient tab, we have another 3 shields, the Thulecite Garter, the Lazy Defender, and the Glowing Herald. So I'm going to explain a little bit about how these shields work. In my hand at the moment, I have a Marble Shield. It's like an extra strong shield, right? As you can see, I can switch it out with my weapon. I have that hotkeyed, so it'll always switch out to the first slot. And basically the idea behind this is that you can use a shield to defend yourself completely from an enemy attack, which allows you to stay and tank more effectively. So these shields apply mostly to people who are interested more in tanking or don't have the skills to dodge attacks, or maybe even the connection, because that's a huge thing too when you're playing in Don't Starve Together. If you don't have a good enough connection, it makes it nearly impossible to effectively kite enemies or dodge their attacks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and pick up another Marble Shield, and we're just going to do a brief run-in with the Deerclops. Here's the old meanie. As you can see, I'm switching to shield. Whenever he attacks, I'm going to switch to the shield. And as you can see, I'm not taking any damage. And I don't have God mode enabled, by the way. But whenever I'm attacking with the shield, I don't do any damage. So shields don't do any damage. You can't just hide behind your shield and slowly chip away at an enemy's health that way. You're going to have to learn how to switch out between the two weapons, basically, because both of them do go in your weapon slot, right? You're going to have to switch out your standard weapon for a shield if you want to completely block. And just to show you, I'm going to switch out here. There, you can see I'm getting hit. It's not the situation where I'm just in God mode. But the shield completely protected me, and it lasted the entire fight, right? That's the Marble Shield. It's not, I mean, it's a heavy shield, but it's not too bad. But it's not too expensive, and I managed to last the entire fight with the Deerclops with it, so I think they have a fairly balanced amount of durability. So I would like to demonstrate a couple of the other shields here. So to get started with, I'm going to be showcasing the Glowing Herald. This one will basically give me a radius of light around my character. As you can see, it is turning night at the moment. So this will be an especially helpful shield in dealing with our battle with Deerclops. Just for comparison, like that's with the shield, that's without it. And this is the Glowing Herald. So it's one of the ancient shields. So you're going to have a little bit of a trickier time actually building it. Okay, next up we have the Night Shield that I'm going to be showcasing here. Now the Night Shield will allow these little tentacles to spawn up, and they actually do hit the boss. So if you take a look up here at the top, the health bar for the Deerclops, you can see the health of the Deerclops is going down whenever I get hit. It's not very significant, obviously, but it is a little bit of something. And if anything, it just helps add a little bit of extra damage to your attacks more than actually doing the work for you. I don't think it was ever intended that the Shadow Tentacles would be doing the majority of the work. Another thing that should be noted is it's rather foolish to actually wear your wooden armor at the same time that you're using a shield, or any armor for that matter, because your armor will take damage. As you can see, this used to be 100% log suit, it's down to 58%. So you might as well unequip any armor that you are currently using. There's one last interesting shield that I wanted to demonstrate, and it's called the Lazy Defender. This is a shield that can actually crash the game, so I have to be a little bit careful here about how I use it. Okay, so here you have a Deerclops. Now if the Deerclops hits me, this shield is going to teleport him away. See? Teleported over there. Now, some funny things can happen when the Deerclops teleports. You can see the Deerclops teleported down there that time. It can get teleported like into the ocean, for example. and I've had the game crash before when that happens. So it's something to keep in mind, how easily you could teleport a boss away from you entirely, and they would never be able to get back to you. However, as I said before, there's a good chance that the game will actually crash when this happens, which makes it a much less viable strategy to sort of exploit with these shields. And also, as you can see there, sometimes the teleportation is really not all that extreme. Okay, the next mod we're going to be taking a look at, and we actually saw a bit of a preview of it while I was demonstrating the previous mod about shields. This mod, though, is called Epic Health Bar. It was created by Taikvesh. It adds a new widget which provides information about the current boss. So in other words, you don't have to worry about hovering over the boss to see the boss's health. Every boss has their own color theme, and this bar is shared between all nearby players. So it's pretty cool. It's also compatible with health info. Let's resume the world and see it in a little bit more detail. So as you can see here, we have a little bit of a fight going on with the tree guard, and right up there up top is the health bar. Okay, there we go. So that health bar was green. We do a Deerclops again here. You can see the Deerclops is blue. And by the way, how the bar is activated is simply when you attack the boss for the first time. Otherwise, you'll be able to wander around the boss without ever seeing the health bar appear. And I really do like this health bar. I can't stress enough how well this health bar really fits into the world. A lot of the health bars in the past have looked pretty out of place, or were simply just numbers, and usually they required you to actually hover over the mob or the boss that you were attacking to actually see them. I just think this is a much better display of that information. It is probably the best that I've seen so far. It really fits in with the theme. The skin around it is so perfect. It looks like all these other UI elements. So I really like it because of that. In addition to that, it's not for anything but bosses. So while a lot of the other health meters display the health of enemy mobs, this bar focuses exclusively on bosses, which I think is more than sufficient. I don't think there's ever really a need to actually see the health of mobs because they're relatively low health, but it certainly helps you stay motivated when fighting a boss, because bosses, at least for beginner and intermediate players, are one of those things that seem to be pretty much unchallengeable because it feels like you're never really chipping away at any significant amount of their health. So I really like the Epic Health Bar because of that, and it just fits in so well with the Don't Starve world. Okay, the next mod we're going to be taking a look at here today is called the Fire Recycling. It is by Harafnar, and it makes use of some of your obsolete equipment by incinerating it in fires. So let's take a look at how that works. So something that I've always been kind of annoyed by is when you get something like a battle spear or a regular spear with only like 1% left on it. Obviously this one has plenty more than that, but maybe you'll have a spear with 5 or 10 even percent left, and you simply don't want to go out into battle with it because you know you're going to end up losing it during the fight and you just have to switch out to something else. So you've already pre-crafted another spear. You don't want to have that old one hanging around your inventory. You don't want to have to remember to switch to it. You just wish you could get rid of it, and it's a little bit challenging to get rid of it in Don't Starve. Sure, you could have an eye plant eat it, but yeah, they're not always available. So wouldn't it be nice if you could just throw it in the fire? And that's exactly what you can do now. With the Fire Recycling mod, it is now possible to recycle a lot of old tools that you just simply don't need anymore. Have you used half of your pitchfork and you simply are sick of 5 of them sitting around the camp? Throw it in the fire. And the same goes for many other tools and weapons. You can recycle your hambat by throwing it in the fire. You can even cycle modded weapons by throwing them in the fire, such as this shield. And as you can see, not only does it recycle it by putting it in the fire, it also breaks it apart for some of its components based upon how much of the item's durability is left. So in our case, you can see we got quite a haul here because the durability on all of those was pretty much 100%. If they were lower in durability, we would have got less back. But it's an interesting idea of being able to recycle items for even a little bit of something, rather than just having to throw it entirely away when it gets rather low. There's one thing or two things that I'm a little bit disappointed with on this mod. While it's certainly possible now to recycle silk, you can throw silk in the fire, for some reason you can't recycle bee stingers. And that goes for a lot of boss drops as well. I can't throw a thick fur in there, even though logically that you would think thick fur would burn just as well as spider webs would. You can't throw bee stingers in there because that doesn't make too much sense to me either. You would think bee stingers, they're organic material. They come from bees. They should be flammable, at least to some extent. So despite me still having to harbor the long-held grudge against bee stingers littering my world, I think this mod is a great step in the right direction. And I know there are alternative mods, such as trash can mods, or you can even use things like lure plants to recycle items and get them out of your world. But both of those are imperfect solutions. One of them requires you to build another building. The other one requires you to wait a certain amount of time and actually have a lure plant. So I just like to have the idea of being able to recycle this stuff by throwing it into a fire pit, just a plain old fire pit. You might not get much additional burning time out of it. You might not get a lot of items back or any back from recycling a low durability item, but just the ability to get rid of it and clear up your camp is pretty important to me. So that's it for this episode. As always, the links to all of the mods that I demonstrated here will be included in the description below this video. If you want to go check them out, if you enjoy any of them, be sure to thank the creator for taking the time to share it with us. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.